everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather, and yes, I have just come off filming that book haul that you will have seen recently. Since I finally sorted out those remaining books, I could then figure out what my November TBR is going to look like. So I have a tentative pile here. First of all, as you may know, it is nonfiction November this month, which I like to try to participate in, as I do enjoy reading nonfiction, maybe not as much as fiction, but if it's a truly well-written nonfiction book, I do enjoy it. This year is the last year that Olive is giving us prompts for it and hosting it, and I have to be honest, those prompts haven't really worked out well for me this year. It was very hard, but I do have a variety of nonfiction books to choose from that I think would be cozy and sweet and fun to read this month. Well, mostly cozy, sweet, and fun. The first one is probably not going to be cozy, sweet, and fun, but it is one that I have wanted to read for a very long time, and that is the interesting narrative of the life of Olaudah Equiano, written by himself. And these are his memoirs published in the late early 1800s of what it was like being kidnapped from his home in Africa, brought on board a slave ship, sold as a slave, and clearly eventually he was freed as well. And clearly he was educated because he was able to write this novel. I loved his character and the brief glimpses we got of him in the film Amazing Grace about the abolitionist William Wilberforce, so I'm really intrigued to find out even more about him. In terms of the keyword code, I could pick up Regency Slang Revealed by Louise Allen, which is exactly what it sounds like. It is actually, I believe, a true guide that was published in the Regency era called The Dictionary of the Vulgar Tongue, which talked about a variety of slang terms that existed primarily among the lower classes in Regency England. That sounds fascinating. Tolstoy and the Purple Chair has also been calling to me, and that is by Nina Sankovich, and it's subtitled My Year of Magical Reading. And I believe, if I remember correctly, her sister passed, and of course she was grieving for her greatly. And so I think she decided to quit her job and read a book a day for an entire year. Okay, maybe not quit her job, but she resolved to read a book a day for a year. And this chronicles that process. I believe she was interviewed in the New York Times afterwards. Things I would like to do with my life. And purple happens to be my favorite color, and I find Tolstoy endlessly fascinating. So yes, this book could be delightful. In terms of cozy delightfulness, I could also pick up Toast and Marmalade by Emma Bridgewater, which you will have just seen me haul. This is the story of Emma Bridgewater, both her growing up and her starting her famous pottery business. Two more recent hauls, I could pick up Claire Tomalin's memoirs, the memoirs of a famous biographer. How very meta. And finally, I would also like to pick up The Short Life and Long Times of Mrs. Beeton by Katherine Hughes, which is a nonfiction book about Mrs. Beeton and how she came to write one of the staples of cookbooks, probably one of the first popular, universally owned cookbooks. For over a century, I had a professor whose aunts and grandmothers gave her a copy of Mrs. Beeton's cookbook when she got married. It was kind of the Victorian version of The Joy of Cooking. So this is the story of her life and also how she came to write this book, considering that she was 21, married for 6 months, and had very little experience. How did she manage to write such a popular cookbook? Finally, I have a superstition that what I read on my birthday should predict the kinds of joy and positive things that I want to come into my life that next year. So for that book, this year I would like to pick up Isabelle and the Rogue by Liana de la Rosa. I read the first book, Ana Maria and the Fox, back in August. I listened to it on audiobook, and determined that perhaps reading the physical book might be better for this series, especially since I think I'm going to identify with Isabelle even more than Ana Maria. This is a series that follows three sisters as they are shipped from Mexico to England to escape the French occupation of Mexico in the 1860s. And so this novel follows the middle sister, Isabelle, who is very, very introverted, very, very bookish. Of course, she's going to find romance, but also I think it's going to be a journey of self-love. They mentioned in book one that Isabelle is much darker complected than her two sisters, and this was always a source of shame for her social climbing father. And so she has grown to feel ashamed of it as well. So I'm hoping that as someone else falls in love with her, she also learns to love herself and find herself beautiful. And indeed, I think I will continue listening to Anthony Trollope audiobooks, as they are just the ultimate comfort for me now. So I think I will continue the Palliser series with, what is book 2? Is it Phineas Finn? I believe it's Phineas Finn. If not, I will include the picture of the correct book here. I loved Can You Forgive Her? I adored the last 2 books in the Barsetshire series, so I'm fairly confident that I will also love Phineas Finn. Though I can't tell you too much about it because I don't know how closely connected it is to any of the other books that I've read, if at all. So that is my November TBR. Let me know down below if you are participating in Nonfiction November, or if you're reading anything else that you are particularly excited about this month, or if you are really excited to hear my thoughts on any of the books that I mentioned. As always, until next time, be safe, be well, and happy reading. Bye everyone.